Welcome back to DLTV, the Healing Channel. This is Destiny Love. We're so glad that you joined us today. So glad to have you. Listen, at our finale of season 1, we had Storytime with Tiffany, and many of you asked questions. So I have her here today, and we're going to answer your questions. If you did not see the finale with Tiffany, I put the link in the description box, and you can go back and check it out at your leisure. But today, we're going to show some clips, and we're going to answer your questions. Let's go.
Let me tell you about my childhood trauma. From missing so much of school, from first grade on, to having my name changed 5 different times, up to 7th or 8th grade, to just being severely abused as a child by my mom, who I believe suffered from mental illness. And abandonment issues herself, from her mom abandoning her. Spending 8 months in McLaren Hall at the age of 11, to being in foster homes. I think it was maybe about 3 or 4 foster homes within a 2-year span. Just so many childhood traumas that I knew were different. I know other people weren't experiencing those things, but somehow it became my normal. So it became my normal, and this is how I function. Or people would say, girl, you crazy, or things like that. And you kind of take it off as, I'm Tiffany, and I'm full of this, and I'm full of that. But no, there was an issue. I needed to be healed.
Oh my gosh, what a story. Oh my God. Okay, look, we got to toast to your healing. Because that was, oh my God, come on, take a sip. So, people want to know about these 5 name changes. And how did you keep up with that? And also want to know, what is McLaren Hall and why were you there?
Well, the name changes came along with McLaren Hall. McLaren Hall is a facility. Well, it was a facility. It's closed down now because there were so many molestation and rape cases that came out of there with the staff and the kids. Thank God nothing ever happened to me.
Awesome.
So when I was taken away from my mom at 10, I went to a foster home first, and then they took me to McLaren Hall. So all I knew was that it was a big facility. There were other kids there.
What is it?
It's like a child protective service facility for kids that have been taken away from their parents, or kids that have been abused or sexually or physically, abused, and waiting to go through the court system to get your child back. So I was taken there at 10. I spent 4 months there.
Okay.
4 months there, and all I knew was that I was never in contact with any family for a certain amount of time, for a few months. And then I was able to talk to my mom within that 4th month.
Okay, but in those 4 months, how did that affect you emotionally, not being able to talk to your family and not even really knowing where you were?
I was always trying to sneak the phone from at the desk. I was always trying to sneak on the phone, or if we went on a field trip, I was always planning my escape.
Wow.
That was going to, what they call AWOL.
Yes.
So I was going to AWOL every field trip.
Absence without leave. Okay.
So if we were going on a bike ride, I was going to go off the trail and
trying to find
make
your
it
family.
home. Yeah, trying to find my family. So at a given time, I was able to speak to my mom. And amazingly enough, I let her know that, hey, we go to Hollywood Bowl every Monday. We do this and we do that. And she was like, oh, baby, that's beautiful and wonderful and whatnot. And that following Monday at the Hollywood Bowl, I'm sitting there with the other children, waiting for the show to take place. And I hear somebody's psst, 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 psst. And I turn around, and it's my mother. So if you can imagine the way that I felt.
Yeah.
After 4 months of not seeing her.
Yeah. And so
she was there, and she was like, come on. And so I literally crawled over to her.
At the Hollywood Bowl.
At the Hollywood Bowl. And I crawled over to her, and we took off and got in the car. So then that's where the first name change came.
So you did escape.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
With the help of my mother.
Wow. Okay.
So that's
the
when
name changed because they're looking for you.
Yeah, they're looking for me. So she had to change my name to put me in school. So that first name change was Erica.
Okay, so did you have difficulty like keeping up with those names?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'd be sitting in class and just sitting there.
What do you mean?
Erica.
And you, it's me. Oh, I forgot. Wow. Well, how did this, your childhood trauma, affect your relationship with your mom?
My mom was my mom. You know, I loved her. You know, it's my mother. She had her ways, she had her faults, she had everything, but she wasn't going to leave her kids.
Okay.
That moment right there, not leaving my baby. I'm going to get my baby by any means necessary.
So regardless of the trauma, you felt loved and wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to watch the next clip before we ask her any more questions. Check this out.
Then I met my husband. We were married for some years, had my son, Jalen. And our marriage was okay. But oddly enough, it's funny that I had my childhood traumas from my mom, and he had childhood traumas from his dad, and which he told me about it, but I wasn't listening. And so that's how I know that spirits connect.
Now I know that after we get healed, it's not an automatic thing that everything that you were doing or not doing just stops or starts. Come on now. So tell us about how it really has affected you and the stuff that you still have going on that you might struggle with.
Well, I still have triggers.
Okay.
Just recently something happened where
tell us about it.
Another adult handled me in a way of authority over me, which there is none.
Okay.
You know, I work for myself. I don't have a boss or anything like that. And it triggered my childhood, and it took me back to being that little girl again that couldn't protect herself. But now I can. So even though I'm healed and God took me through everything, something in me rises up to protect her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That little girl.
So then that could come off in another kind of way.
Absolutely. Maybe the wrong way, like the way you were in your past. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Because y'all know if you was cursing or drinking or being promiscuous or smoking a herb or whatever it is that you've been doing, it doesn't just stop automatically. When God comes into your heart, you just let him do his thing while you live your life, and you look up and that stuff falls off, or you're not doing it anymore. Some of the stuff you still keep doing, but it doesn't make you a bad person. Wait a minute, over there, sister. Look, my filmer, she want to know.
Hi, everybody.
She has a question.
I do. So in your video, I was listening, and you mentioned that when you and your husband were married, he was telling you about his traumas or things that had been happening in his life or had happened in his life, and you weren't necessarily listening, but you knew that the spirits were connecting in a way because, you know, things were happening. Can you talk about, like, what did that look like in your marriage where you have two unhealed, in essence, people in a marriage relationship or just in a relationship period, and how were you being triggered? Like, what did that look like?
Well, what it looked like for me is that I didn't have a blueprint on what a wife is supposed to be. He did because he had his grandparents, but when you have two individuals that doesn't have any idea of what marriage looks like, what a husband is supposed to be and what a wife is supposed to be, then you're just kind of like, for a better lack of a word, willy-nilly in it. You know, and then you're not healed. You don't have a relationship with God. You don't know how to pray. You don't know how to get on your knees and pray for your marriage. So I took on past experience and was like, okay, well, if this is what it is, then I'm just gone. So that's how I dealt with things, because as a teenager, I was a runaway. So as soon as something didn't go my way or something that I didn't like or there was some kind of form of abuse or neglect, I would just run.
Escape. Ah. Okay, so see how it spilled over? Wow. Okay, so but talk to us about those spirits that connect. You know, like there are generational curses. So your mama did something, and then you, and then your granddaughter, and then your daughter's daughter, and all of that. So I think that is also the question that she's asking. Like you talked about those spirits. You know, it's a familiar spirit. You connected with him, even though he had trauma. You didn't connect. We both have trauma, and that's how we came together. But you did recognize, okay, wait a minute, my spirit connected with his because we are both wounded spirits. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it just happens. And when you're not aware of it, you just think, oh, you know, he's handsome, or, you know, he's attractive, or whatever you think you're seeing, but it's something else. It's something that you need to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly. I believe that every single relationship, personal relationship, is to teach you something.
Absolutely.
Or to learn something, pull something out of that.
Okay, what I want to say is spirits attract spirits. And you know that. You have been in relationships before, and you meet somebody else after you break up with them, and then realize, wait a minute, this is the same person, just wrapped in a different package. Because when we don't recognize where we're wounded, that wounded place is still trying to be healed, and we're drawing the same spirit that's like ours. And instead of us being healed, unfortunately, we're just two wounded spirits bouncing off of each other. And that does not equal healthy relationship. It equals dysfunction. You know, there was one more question that I wanted to ask you that so many people was asking about, and that's your son. Where is he, and what's going on with him now?
He's in his junior year in Arizona, at Arizona State.
Oh, awesome.
He's a film major, and he's doing awesome. He's just a great kid. I couldn't ask for anything else.
Absolutely phenomenal. Can we flash a picture of him so they can see him? Look at him. He's so cute. Awesome. Yay, Jalen. Wonderful. That is beautiful. And they also wanted to know what happened with you. They heard you say, you know, I realized that I wasn't like them and they're not like me, and all of that. And they're saying, okay, but after all of that, what happened? How are you now? What's going on with you?
I'm good.
What do you do?
I'm still a hairstylist. Okay. Going into my 28th year.
Oh, wow. Bravo. Okay.
Ready for retirement.
I'm going to have her do my hair soon. Trust and believe. I guess this has been the one who's been doing this here. Okay? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm doing that and just moving into this next phase, second phase of my life of being an empty nester and having an adult child that's on his way, and I don't have to really be concerned with him any longer.
Yeah.
And that's it. I'm just, running my business.
Awesome. So how do you feel about your son and you coming out on the other side well after everything you went through?
When I tell him bits and pieces, because he still doesn't know the whole story.
Of course
He's
not.
just amazed.
Yes.
He just looks at me like, Mom, wow.
Can't hardly believe
You've
it.
been through a lot.
Right. And you don't look like what you've been through. You are absolutely
Amen.
beautiful.
Amen. Thank you.
And all of the things that you've gone through, I am just saying to you, and I'm saying to you too, it takes a lot of courage to tell your story. And so, sister, I bow down.
Oh, thank you.
Because
Thank
you
you.
have said a lot of things that people need to hear. You need to know that there is joy on the other side. There is a life that you can have after going through so many traumatic experiences, specifically in your childhood. Look at her. We just showed you a picture of her son. Now your questions are answered, okay? If you want to talk more to Tiffany, there's also a way to contact her in the description box, because I'm sure many of you have had some of the same experiences and may have more questions. So reach out to her, DM her, you know, and she will get back to you and help you get on the straight path, the narrow path. Because let me tell you something, you want a round the way girl. You hear me? You don't want somebody who ain't been through what you've been through and don't know what you're talking about, okay? You want somebody that can walk with you and talk with you and help you understand where you are. That's what this is all about, baby. This is DLTV, the Healing Channel. Come on back and get you some. Come on back and get you some, huh? Okay, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Take care.